It was 6:15 in the morning. Ethan Parker sat alone in his cramped Ohio apartment, staring at his laptop screen. An email was open. He had already read the single sentence 6 times. He quietly closed the laptop. That was his 3rd rejection of the week, and for the year, it was his 27th. He looked around his room. At 27, Ethan thought he would have a thriving career. Instead, he was surrounded by a cheap sofa, a half-empty coffee cup, and a wall covered in sticky notes detailing his dreams. To afford the rent, he was working the graveyard shift at a local grocery store. Then his phone rang. It was his younger sister, Megan, calling to check on him. When she asked if he was okay, Ethan stared at the closed laptop and said yes. It was the easiest lie he had ever told. After he hung up, Ethan leaned back in his chair. For the first time, he said the words out loud that he had been dreading for months. Maybe I'm just not good enough. That morning, under the weight of 27 identical rejections, Ethan made the quiet, devastating choice to completely surrender his dream. 3 months passed. Ethan stopped applying for jobs. He stopped working on his side projects. His days dissolved into a numb, repetitive loop of endless work, an empty home, and restless sleep. He stopped talking about the future entirely. The break in that cycle came on a rainy evening at the grocery store. An elderly regular customer named Mr. Harris walked in. He was having trouble walking, struggling to balance his groceries and a small notebook. Ethan stepped in to help load his cart. Mr. Harris looked closely at Ethan's face and asked what was wrong. When Ethan forced a polite smile and muttered, "Nothing," the old man laughed. He told Ethan that people only use that word when everything is wrong. Then he asked a sharper question. "What did you want to be?" Ethan went entirely quiet. He hadn't spoken about his goals to anyone in months. Finally, looking at the floor, he admitted he wanted to be a software engineer, but that he had failed. Mr. Harris shook his head. "No," he said, "you didn't fail. You stopped trying." Those words echoed in his head all night. At 5:30 the next morning, Ethan woke up and opened his laptop for the first time in months. He found the programming course he had abandoned, looked at the daunting first lesson, and nearly closed the screen again. But he forced himself to stay. There was no montage of overnight success. Ethan studied 30 minutes the first day. Next day, 35, then 40. But this newly applied effort yielded nothing. His first project completely crashed. The second was a mess. The third refused to run at all. Late one night, the frustration boiled over. Ethan slammed his laptop shut. He stood up from his desk, entirely prepared to walk away for good. Right at that second, his phone lit up. Megan was calling. Exhausted, Ethan vented his frustration. He told his sister that he kept trying, day after day, and every single attempt ended in failure. Megan listened, then offered a slight correction. He was looking at the math wrong. He was counting the number of times he fell down. She suggested he start counting the number of times he chose to stand back up. Over the next 6 months, Ethan built a small mobile application. It had bugs. It was far from perfect, but it functioned. He uploaded it to the internet, and slowly the numbers ticked up. 10 downloads, then 20, then 50. That small sliver of traction was enough. One morning, Ethan woke up to an email from a boutique tech company. They had seen his app, and they wanted to bring him in for an interview. On the day of the interview, Ethan stood on the sidewalk outside the office building, his hands shaking. Staring at the glass doors, the old paralysis crept back in. He was entirely bracing himself for rejection, convinced he still wasn't good enough. But as he stood there, he realized something crucial about his past. Those 27 rejections and crashed projects were no longer evidence of his inadequacy. They were undeniable proof that he was a person who kept trying. He opened the door and walked inside. The interview lasted 40 minutes. 2 days later, he got the call offering him the position. Walking outside into the rain, weather that mirrored the night he met Mr. Harris, Ethan took out his phone. Megan had texted asking if he got it. He replied yes and added one more line. "I didn't give up." A year later, Ethan returned to the grocery store to find Mr. Harris. The cashier told him the old man had moved out of state to live with his daughter. But before he left, he handed Ethan a weathered notebook. On the very first page, 6 words were written: "Keep going, even when nobody believes." Success is rarely the result of raw motivation. It usually arrives when you have failed so many times that walking away feels entirely justified. A rejection is not the end of a story. A bad day does not dictate the future. The life you dream of is very often waiting right on the other side of one more attempt.